All right. So thank you all for joining us on call number 4. Yay! Look, you made it to 4. Be proud of yourself. So we are more than halfway there to the finish line. So let's talk a little bit. You've learned a lot along the way here. You've learned, how to make contacts when you're out and about. You've learned about bookings. And last week you learned about host coaching. So does anybody want to share tonight a little bit about what you've done to implement some things into your host coaching?
I did some host coaching and actually followed some of the stuff about being in contact with her and giving her ideas and stuff like that. And her show was, I think, 5/11, so it wasn't too bad.
Oh, good. So did you start host coaching her? Was this a live cooking show or?
It was a virtual.
It was a virtual. So you were coaching her this week to get more sales?
Yes.
Awesome.
So then I kept, as she hit a line, I'd say, oh, you only have this much more to go. Is there somebody else you can ask? So we got it up to around 5/11.
Awesome. Great job. Who else wants to share something about what you learned about host coaching, what you implemented this week about host coaching? Oh, you're all great host coachers. That's awesome. Right? You're all having like super fantastic parties, right?
Yeah, I'll share.
Okay, I didn't see who that was, but go ahead.
Jen.
Jen, okay, see you now, Jen.
Okay. So I did a couple of things. One thing I did was I do only virtual parties, and I have 4 starting tomorrow. So I called all of those hosts and hostesses today and just went through their host packet with them the way that we talked about last week, which was like going over that the Taste the Good Life brochure, was the first thing that I went over with them. If you or anybody needs some extra income coming up to the holidays. And I also, I always send my hostesses a thank you card, but last week, it was in the thing we listened to. They talked about sending a little Starbucks instant coffee or doing something like that. So I sent a little stress relief tea bag in my thank you cards.
Awesome. That's great. Well, who's excited about the new recruiting promotion? I mean, did you tell your host that this week? Jen, did you share that with the host that you were talking to today?
No. What is it?
Oh my goodness.
The 37 people, right?
Well, that, but also you were talking about, talking to your host and sharing Taste the Good Life with them. But we have a 50% off the kit rebate this month for our host as well.
Oh, I hadn't looked at what the October one was yet. I didn't do that today because we can't see it till the first day. So I forgot about
that. Out there today. So yeah. Make sure that you are, when you're host coaching, that you're offering that to your host. So
yeah.
Anybody else have anything they want to share? Okay, I'm going to share my screen so we can get started. All right. I have to figure out how to get you guys away from me. Here we go. So I can see my screen here. Well, does anybody know? Why is this not going away? Usually I hit this little button here and it will show me. There we go. All right, so I can see my entire screen. So we are talking today about informing and inviting. And I'm excited because this is where we need to be so that we can start building our team. So informing is just creating that interest. We inform about the opportunity to book a show and we inform about the opportunity to start a Pampered Chef business. And we use those same skills through different wording and perhaps different techniques for each of these. So why is it so important to inform at your shows? Does anybody know why it's important to inform at your shows?
It creates interest.
It does create interest. Someone's done their homework. Exactly. So because we're not looking for people who are interested, we're looking for them. We want to give them that interest, and then we're going to inform them, and then we're going to eventually invite them, right? So, so informing creates that interest. So what's the difference between informing and inviting? Informing is creating that interest in the business opportunity. And we're going to talk about ways that we can inform at our parties here. And inviting is inviting them to learn a little bit more. So it's not inviting them to sell. We're just inviting them to learn more about what we have to offer. So informing is more that general inviting, okay? And there are 3 places that you'll be informing during your show. So during the welcome, you want to have that strong opening where your group hello to everybody. During the recipe preparation, we're going to talk about a little bit more how to inform during your recipe. And at the end of the show, when we have that strong closing, we want to make sure that we inform there as well. So even with our virtual parties, we want to make sure that we're informing by the posts that we're making as well. So it really doesn't matter what style show you're doing, if you're doing a live cooking show, if you're doing, station style, demo style, hands-on. Every show has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so no matter what you're doing, you're going to be able to inform throughout, even like I said, on your virtual parties as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. Has anybody heard of the chocolate chip cookie story?
Yes.
I can't see you all. Who said yes?
That was Susan. I'm just being.
Of course, Susan. We know you know the story because Susan's in the story. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this the chocolate chip cookie story. So Susan calls Jennifer and says, "Oh my goodness, Jennifer, I just made these incredible chocolate chip cookies, and I even used the vanilla from Riviera Maya that I brought back, and they're gonna melt. They melt in your mouth. Oh my goodness, that first bite was just so ooey gooey and creamy, and oh my goodness, there's chocolate all over my face." And then Susan's going to say, "Oh my goodness, I have this warm plate of cookies still sitting here. They're so warm. They're fresh out of the oven." And so what happens is the next day, Susan sees Jennifer outside, pulling her weeds, mowing her grass, doing her gardens. And she says, "Jennifer, why didn't you come over and eat a cookie with me? They were so good. I told you that, the chocolate was melting down my face." What did Susan never do?
Invite her over.
She never invited her over.
Susan, I would come.
Oh, okay, good.
Look at poor Jennifer. She's so sad she didn't get the invite, okay? So let's start looking with informing during the first part of our show, the group hello. So we have some men on this call, I believe, as well, because I can't see my screen, but we do have men out there, right? Did I see a guy out on our group today? I thought there was a guy out there. Okay, maybe I'm not. Maybe he's on mute. Okay, so something you should know is that women in particular, we have a tendency to react and say no, right? Oh, I couldn't do that. So in your opening, you want to start planting the seeds about both the opportunity to host a show and the opportunity to start a Pampered Chef business. So you want to start chipping away at that initial no, okay? You don't want to overwhelm your guest with too many details or too much information. After all, they did come to the party to have fun, right? And we want to make sure we don't forget about that show experience that they really came for. So you can start with a simple introduction to the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the business. So, oh, sorry guys, my phone, I should have shut that off. All right, so let's start talking about how many of you have your story? Does anybody have their story written out? Does anybody know what a story is? Okay, so well, It doesn't look like you do, so we're going to talk about that. So one of the best ways to introduce yourself is to share your story. So sharing your story makes you seem like a real person, right? It makes that person in the room, you know, you can they can relate to you a little bit. So it helps the guests see you as someone that's more than just the consultant out there doing the show. You know, Dee, the consultant standing up there, she just wants to sell tonight, okay? But you know, Dee is a mom of kids. Dee loves to bake, but she hates to cook, you know? So it helps them start picturing themselves in our shoes, because we're not just the salesperson up there. We want to, you know, make them be able to relate to us. So we want our story to be brief. You don't want to go on and on about yourself. You know, some of us can just go on and tell, you know, sometimes when we start talking about our kids, we just, oh, my kid does this, and, you know, bragging and all of that. So we definitely don't want to be doing that. All right. So we just want to help them picture themselves in our shoes. So let's start talking about, you know, sharing your story. So a great way to start your story is to start thinking about these questions. And you want to incorporate these questions to help you write your story. So why you got started is the first question. What you love about your business, and why you've stayed with the business, or if you haven't been with the business long, what are you looking forward to? What are you most excited about getting your business off the ground? So does anybody have a story they want to share?
I will. Jen
Okay.
again.
Go ahead, Jen.
And actually, I wasn't sure what you meant by story, so I do have mine written out because I posted in my virtual parties.
Okay.
But so my upline is Sue Moulton.
Okay.
And she was my consultant for years, a few years anyway. And I was not looking to sell Pampered Chef at all. She came to my house and did a party for me, because every time I wanted something, I just had a party. And ended up, she was doing this training and training where she had to have like 2 recruits a month. And so ultimately I really just did it to help her out.
Okay.
And here I am a year and a half later.
Way to go. We love those kinds of stories. So that's pretty much what you're sharing at your party then, right?
Well, I'd say, you know, I signed up to, you know, to do 3 shows and then stop. And then here I am, you know, and that, you know, what I use the money for, you know, for travel, and I bought a new car, you know, stuff like that.
Okay. That's awesome. Anybody else have a story that you share?
I'm glad you shared that. And Avery's in the background, and part of why Jen does her job is because of her cute little daughter who convinced her that she needed to give it a try.
Okay, somebody has some really loud background noise. If you could mute yourself, because I'm having a hard time hearing on my end. Someone has loud noise. If you could mute yourself, please. All right. So your story, you want your story to be really quick, you know, and, you know, you can put a little bit of fun into it. You don't want it to be more than, you know, 45 seconds to a minute, because you can say a lot in that 45 seconds to a minute. So even if you're brand new, you know, here's something that you could say as a brand new consultant. My name is Dee. I have to tell you all that I love my job. I get to be my own boss. I get to decide how often and when I want to work. I make great money doing something fun. And I want to invite all of you to watch what I do here tonight. Watch for the fun we all are having. And later on this evening, I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask me questions about my job, because there's never a better time than now to start with the Pampered Chef. I'll tell you more about that later. So let's get cooking. So it could be something as simple as that. So if you are do we have any brand new consultants out there? Okay, so no branding new. So the rest of you, just answering those 3 questions that we just talked about, why you got started. I started the business because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I was in the corporate world working, 60 hours a week, and I had 2 little kids, and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Got invited to my babysitter's Pampered Chef show. She was hitting me in the leg. She said, oh my, you should do this. And I thought, oh my goodness, does she think I could do this, or does she just not want to watch my boys anymore? So I'm just telling them a little bit about, why I do what I do. Then I tell them how, we get to travel all over the country, all over the world, how we, the money, the blessings in our lives and things like that. So that's pretty much how my story goes. And then, obviously I've been in the business 16 years, so I let them know that too. So, then they're like, wow, she's been here a long time. So whether you're new or been in the business a long time, then they can kind of relate. Maybe they've been at their job for 15 years and they're ready for something else as well. So let's start talking about informing during the recipe preparation and the demo part of our show, and sprinkling those little seeds. So one of the most important things to do is focus on the fun. Okay. I heard a story recently that a consultant was called out because she actually said to somebody, they were talking and mingling and socializing, and she was trying to tell them about our tools. And she recently said, oh my goodness, it was a lesson for her, because she was so worried about teaching them about the tools and what our tools can do for them in the kitchen, that she forgot that they were there. They came from work and they just wanted to have fun. They wanted to socialize. And so, as a consultant, we have to be aware of that too, and make sure that, while we want to get the point across of why we're there and the tools that can change the lives in their kitchen and put meals on the table a lot quicker, we don't want to forget that they're there for that show experience. They want to have some fun and they want to mingle as well. So when you're having fun and they're having fun and you're getting paid to do that, that's a great way to let them see that, that's sprinkling a seed out there. All right. So compliment a guest, if they're in the kitchen and they're having fun and they're using the tools. Oh my goodness, you would be so great at this. Have you ever thought about doing this? And I just got the opportunity recently to go to see Stacy Itzel on a show last week. How many of you do station style parties?
I do.
Okay, so, the one thing, what I learned from Stacy going to her show, while she was mingling with the guests as they were using the product, she was kind of guiding them, what to do with the product. But she was there sprinkling seeds about, being a consultant and complimenting them on what they were doing. And I could see why Stacy is, she was the Circle of Honor for recruiting, because that is her focus. When she's mingling with that crowd, her focus was complimenting the guests and really, telling them what a great consultant they would be. Okay. And then also pointing out the products that come in the new consultant kit. So when you have your station style, make sure you are taking products that come in the kit. Don't you love that manual food processor? I got mine in my new consultant kit, and so you can say, oh my goodness, you can, get all of these tools in the kit. If you're using that grill pan, the Rock Crock, those are items that all come in that, the large kit of ours. So making sure that you are letting them know what comes in the kit. Another thing too, if you can't remember, what comes in the kit, you can put little stickers on your product. So maybe like a little red sticker or something for recruiting to remind you to drop that little recruiting seed. Okay. So if you have a station style show and you have, if you print out, the directions, I know Jennifer Courtney does, she has her recruiting lines built right in. So when they're reading the recipes and things like that, it's all right there. they're reading, you're putting the recruiting lines right there in with the recipe. So, and then, red for recruiting, be it the blue stickers for bookings. I'm not sure if anybody's ever heard of that before, but, just sprinkling those seeds throughout your party. And at least, you want to be doing 3 messages throughout the demo. So does anybody have recruiting seeds that you do plant? Did you always go back to, like, you have a favorite recruiting seed that you like to plant?
I
I
really
can share with you. Sorry, this is Angela Sweeney.
Okay.
I can tell you that when I say a lot in my parties, when I first started this business, I didn't know how to cook. And this company makes it really easy for me because they train me. And so I call this my Learn and Earn program, so that I can learn and earn a paycheck instead of paying someone else to teach me how to cook.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I never heard that one before. Who else has a recruiting seed that you plant?
Jen.
Okay, Jen, what's yours?
Well, because I do everything online, I really use the whole, I never have to leave my house.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Jen.
I said because I do everything online.
Okay.
I never have to leave my house.
Awesome. So so when you're doing that virtually, is that like a little picture post that you're using, or how are you putting that out there that you never have to leave your house?
I usually I don't always put it out there in the same way,
Okay.
But it's usually part of my story. Usually when I'm talking to people on the phone, like if when I'm talking to my host, closing out the party, calling people.
Okay.
So I don't know that I guess I could put it more into my parties.
But as long as you're getting it out there, planting those seeds throughout the virtual party.
Yeah.
So that's great. Anybody else have a recruiting line they use or a recruiting seed they plant throughout their parties, either live or virtually? Okay. So now I know you all have them. You're just afraid to share them. So we'll just keep moving on here. So we've got
One thing I do that's really simple.
Okay.
Was that like my delayed comment?
I didn't hear.
I said something, but then I don't think you heard me.
I didn't hear you. It got cut off. I don't know why.
I know, my internet's doing something weird. So I was just saying, I think one thing that I do, and I know other consultants do that's really simple, is when you make a mistake, you just want to say, oh, I'm pampered, not perfect. See, anyone can do this job.
Yeah.
Just sort of making fun of yourself, saying, you don't have to really know what you're doing here.
Exactly. I love that. I love that feeling too. Are you guys all getting the feedback you're getting?
That's a really easy recruiting line to, especially because I make a lot of mistakes. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I'm getting a lot of feedback. Is anybody else getting the feedback?
Yes, I am. I can hear it too. I think
I'm
there's
not
somebody
sure.
that's not on mute.
Somebody's on it because I'm like having a really hard time hearing people. But yeah, I love that line as well. When you mess up or, I always say, oh my goodness, no one can fire me tonight. I'm my own boss, it's just, little lines like that. So those.
That's funny that you guys say that same thing. I do the same thing, Dee. I always say I have to fire myself tonight, but I really need to hire myself before tomorrow at 5:30 when I start my next show.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And the same with what Susan said, same thing, like you too can be a Pampered Chef consultant. I actually give out the recruiting flyer at my shows, and their job is to watch for my mistakes. And I tell everybody in the room that they have to help them, and that every time I make a mistake, they need to shout out, you too could be a Pampered Chef consultant.
Oh,
and then everybody laughs. And so everybody is looking for mistakes. And sometimes they'll ask, well, what's a mistake? And I'll say, well, gosh, I haven't made it through a show yet where I haven't heard 4 or 5 times. You know, I'm going to drop it on the floor. I'm going to miss an ingredient. I'm going to call a strawberry cherry tomato. Like I'm like, I don't cook, girl. So you'll find lots of them. And they find it very funny, but they're watching for those mistakes so that you don't seem too perfect at your shows.
But I like that
Exactly.
too, because when you're then, you know, when you do have a new consultant and somebody's at the party and they join your team, as a new consultant, they know right off the bat that they don't have to be perfect. And really, you know, while you're pointing out, you know, for them to look for your mistakes, a lot of times you're making mistakes and people don't even know it. So, you know, I always tell new consultants, no, you know, no one is perfect and they're not even going to know. Like, how many times have you all made a recipe and forgot an ingredient? You know, I remember making chicken broccoli braid and the spice was dill and I didn't have any spice in there and they all thought it was great. If they had only known that if I put the dill in there, it would have been so much better, you know? So we all make mistakes and that's, you know, it makes it look easy. So more people will want to join our team, I think. We don't want to be perfect for sure. So, all right, so now we've gotten through the group hello, the recipe prep, and now it's time for your confident close. So this is the grand finale, okay? It's where you really want to water those seeds that you've planted throughout and start to watch them blossom. Okay, so I'm going to cover 4 different activities that you can do to inform about the business opportunity at the end of the show. Okay, and then you're going to get a follow-up email from your director with the wording and the information about these. So don't feel like you have to sit here and jot everything down word for word what I'm saying, because just reach out to your director, let her know you're on the call, and she'll be happy to share those with you, okay? So the first one we're going to talk about is ticket activity. So this is my favorite one, and this is really the only one I do now at my party. How many of you do the ticket activity? I can't see hands. So
I do.
Okay. So
I do too.
Awesome. So this is, like I said, this is my favorite, and I learned this many, many years ago. And if you're not comfortable with it, get comfortable with it. I think it really generates a lot of interest. And sometimes you're sitting there and like, oh, well, there's only 2 people here. I'm not going to play it tonight. Or those people are so old, they're not going to be interested in the opportunity. So you just have to force yourself to do this each and every time. Okay. So, because it may be the person that's asking the question that isn't even interested. Maybe the person asking the question just wants the prize at the end, but there's somebody sitting there that's afraid to ask the question, and the question gets asked for her. Okay, so remember, we're just informing with this, and we're going to create that interest. So prior to the show, you know, you're going to make sure that you have some tickets with you, so that you can give out tickets. There's also, if you're not comfortable with just doing the tickets, there is actually questions out on the website for this ticket activity. Has anybody seen this? Okay, the basic question, it is out there, and we'll point you in the direction where you can get these the questions for the tickets. So if you're not like, oh, I'm afraid to play this game because I'm afraid I'm not going to know the answers, there'll be questions and answers, so you'll have all the answers. Okay, so but the questions that most people ask are pretty simple questions. You know, they want to know, you know, how much does it cost to get started? Do you have to know how to cook? Can you earn trips? Do you keep an inventory? You know, my favorite question, and I give out bonus tickets for, is how much money do you make, right? We all want them to ask that question, because when they're sitting there, they really don't realize how much money they can make doing this. So That's my favorite. And people play this different ways. I play till all questions are answered. Some people just take 5 or 6 questions. So really, you can kind of do it any way that you want to do this. All right. So you can just, so at the end of the end, I'm just going to say, hey, who wants to, it's now we're going to play a little game. Somebody's going to win a prize. This may be something you're just curious about. It may be something you think someone else here wants to know, or maybe just asking a question so you can get a ticket. So you're going to have the opportunity tonight to ask me anything. Don't be shy. There's no question off limit. And when you ask me a question, you'll get a ticket. And at the end, when everybody's done, we're going to do a drawing for a prize. So if you're sitting there and nobody's asking you a question, what are you going to do? You're going to give somebody a question. So you're going to say, oh, Susan, you want to know how I earn free vacations, right? And then you're going to tell them how you earn free vacation. Okay. So, if someone, I'll say, if you do 2 shows a week, it's fairly easy to earn a vacation. I try not to give too much information because I want it to pique their interest so they'll ask more questions. Okay. So if someone says, how many shows do I do a week? I say, personally, I like to do 2 shows a week, but that's not what you have to do. If you want to do 1 show a week, 1 show a month, it's really up to you. It's your business. And I keep the questions going fairly quickly and very short responses. Anybody have any questions about the ticket activity? And there are some questions I want them to ask me. I want them to ask me questions about, how much does it get, how much is it to get started, and so I can turn to the back of the catalog and point out the kits that we have available. I want them to ask me how much money I make, because not only am I telling them how much, before I tell them how much I make, I always tell them how much they can make first. And then I go in to tell them how much money they can make. All right. Since we have no questions about the ticket activity, so I guess I didn't have this up. So if you can I think I told you everything that I wanted to say on this little slide here. So I jumped ahead of myself. So this one here is, Jen's showing you here that the Easter eggs in the microwave popcorn maker. But what can you be using now instead of Easter eggs?
Little Halloween pumpkins.
Little pumpkins, little fall leaves, and things like that. So, this is just a fun prop to make this more exciting. All right. So that's a little idea too to take with you to your parties. Now, the other activity is going to be the envelope game. Who uses the envelope activity game? So, and we're going to post this too. Your directors will post this for you once they know that you listen to the
I do.
call. Okay. So you use it, Susan? Was that Susan? Who said they used the envelope game? No, someone said they did. All right.
Susan does, but I don't think she's on she's not coming through very well.
Okay. So on the front of each envelope, you'll paste a consultant story, and we're going to give you that story. I haven't done it for so long, but I know there's a story of someone that, started out part-time, is now making full-time, and I can't remember what the other ones, but we will give you those stories. So, and then inside the envelope, you'll put, you'll actually have copies of the consultant's story, her check that coincides with her story. So you're going to hand out these envelopes to 4 guests at the show, and then say, who has envelope number 1? And you're going to ask them to read the story on the front of the envelope. Okay. And then you're going to say, open up your envelope and see how much money this consultant makes. And then you're going to go through envelopes 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they're all going to be 4 different stories and 4 different paychecks. It's going to start out with the smallest paycheck, I believe, and go into, a fairly large paycheck. So this is a fun game. I have used this. It gets people, seeing an actual paycheck of a consultant's is like, it makes it real that, oh, wow, when they see those numbers come to life. So, so we will share that with you. So if you want to do the activity game, you can do that. And so here are, yes.
It's Jen. Would you mind going back to the slide with the flowers on it real quick?
Sure.
Okay. So for every.
So they're just going to be asking questions till the eggs are gone or till the pumpkins are gone.
Okay. And then for every question they asked, basically, they're getting $5 off
their kit.
Okay.
All right, so so here's the paychecks, and the stories will coincide with these paychecks, and we will make sure that, we get these stories to you and these copies of these paychecks, so you can just print them out, put them in the envelope, and put the story on the outside of the envelope. Okay, so that's a fun activity that you can do as well, in addition to the ticket activity and the pumpkins and the popcorn maker. So the next activity is going to be the Y bag. How many of you have done the Y bag before? Okay, so the Y bag is just, you're going to put stuff in the bag that creates interest. They're going to be fun things that you can put into the bag. And some people have, you can pull them out one at a time, or you can even have your guest reach in and grab something. So like one of the things in there would be a rubber band. And you can say, well, what do you think this rubber band represents in my business? And so, you're going to talk about the flexibility. And you can say about 95% of my team works a full-time job and does Pampered Chef on the side. So it's a very flexible job. Okay. Or, you can do, I know I used to have in mind a little Pampered Chef, when you earn a trip, would send little things. And one of them was a little foamy sailboat, and I had that in there. So that, what do you think the sailboat has to do with the Pampered Chef business? And that represents the trips that we take. $100 bill. Why would a $100 bill be in there? Because the average consultant earns $100 a night, right, for going out. So that can be in there. A credit card. A lot of people put a credit card in there because it, signifies that we pay off our credit card debt. Support pantyhose. It signifies the support that you get from your, not only your director, but the company. Sometimes people put like a big bra in there as well for support. Legos to signify our business is kid friendly and that you can build a business. A paycheck to show how much money you can really make doing this. A party blowhorn to signify that every time you show up to work, you're at a party. A picture of your family. I mean, because a lot of us do start this business so that we can, be home with our family more. So whatever fun and exciting things that you have, maybe your paycheck, you got a new car with your paycheck. So you could get like a little matchbox and say, I was able to, get this, dream car by working my business. So just think of some things that are fun, that represent your business. And it's just a fun and interactive way to get your guest involved in talking about their lives and how, maybe it would, could benefit, their family, their life, and their, and relate to that. So the more you can get them thinking and picturing themselves in your shoes, the better it will be. Does anybody does the Y bag can think of anything else?
I like the Y bag. I think it's pretty cool.
It is. And you can really come up with, I'm trying to think of, any other things that, that I used to have in my Y bag. I haven't done one for a while. I think I still have mine I remember the sailboat in there. So, like I said, a toy airplane for trips, anything like that. So, all right. So the next one we're going to talk about for informing is stealing hearts. So just remember, no matter what activity you choose to use for informing at your shows, you have to commit to doing it at every show, no matter what. So, if you do stealing hearts once and you're like, oh, I'm not doing that again, give it some time. It doesn't matter if there's only 3 people there or if everyone has been to 12 shows before, do it anyway. People know when they come to my show, now they're like, oh, they're raising their hand. I have a question, because they've been to my shows and they know what questions, they even know what the bonus question is. And that's okay, because it gets the conversation going. Okay? You never know what may have changed before in someone's life, or what you might do or say at this show that might spark their interest, that didn't spark it the last time that you were at their party, that they were at your party. So the more you use your informing activities, the more you're going to feel comfortable about doing it, and the more your skills are going to improve with responding to the questions. You're just going to get better at it. So let's talk about the stealing hearts, all right? So the stealing hearts is just another way to get your guests basically doing the activity. So you're going to hand out heart cards. You're going to pull out all the hearts from a deck of cards, and to every person who asks a question, you're going to at the end go through another suit of cards, such as the clubs. And when you pull out the queen, the person with the queen of heart goes and gets the prize bag you have prepared. Then you flip over the 6. Maybe the next one you flip over is the 6. So the person who's holding the 6, they go steal the bag from the queen. All right. And so on. So you're going to, hand out all the hearts, and then you're going to have another set. It doesn't have to be clubs. It can be spades, diamonds, whatever. And every time you turn it over, when they have the matching corresponding card, they get to go and steal. All right. And you can have more than one gift. Okay, in a bag, you can have 1 to 3 gift bags, and they can be circulating around. So you have 3 gift bags out there, so they can steal from whoever. Again, you want to, if you're sitting there like, oh my goodness, I don't want to, I don't have money for gifts in a bag. It doesn't have to be anything big. You can give them a coupon for $5 to $10 off their kit if they sign at the party. You can put a season's best in there. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but it's just getting them in that conversation, getting that out there, informing. All right. The next, also the drawing slips. So the purpose of the drawing slip is just not to give away a prize, right? It's one last opportunity that we have to put out there, getting our guest information and find out where they might have interest. One of the questions is, have you ever thought about, being a Pampered Chef consultant? So these may be the people that may be okay checking that little box that they are interested in learning more about the business or hosting a party. So we recommend that you don't hand out these at the beginning of the party. So if you are, don't do that. Some people like to put them in the guest folders or in the catalog. But you really want to give it at the end, and go through all the informing, so that when they fill out the door prize slip, they might, something that you said now may trigger, where if you gave it to them at the beginning, they might just like, oh, I'm not interested. But as you were informing throughout the party that we learned about tonight, now all of a sudden they might be a little more interested. Okay, so walk them through each question. So what I like to do is hand it out. I'm talking to them as I hand it out, and I say, okay, everybody, put your name down, put your email address and put your phone number. I don't ask them to write their address, their mailing address, but I do ask them for their name, phone number, and email address. So if they're not using full express checkout, then I can at least have some of their information entered while I'm waiting for them to come up. So then I just walk them through. Okay, the first question is, and I say the first question, if you are just a little bit curious about what I did tonight, please let me know on this slip so that I can give you some information at the end. Now, I'm not going to look at these slips anyways, because when I do full service checkout, I'm just going to automatically talk to them about it. But it is something that, you know, I can at least compare notes to what they said to me at the party versus when I come home and look through it and see, you know, if I talk to them at the party and they say, no, I have no interest, but then they did show interest on the door prize slip, I will make another phone call and say, hey, I was just going through my door prize slips. And, you know, I noticed you had mentioned that you were interested in the business opportunity. And then I can just start talking to them about that. All right. Any questions about informing before we move on to inviting? All right. So how do we invite at the show? We're going to invite through checkout chat. So the checkout chat is simply that conversation with each guest as you take their order that offers them all of the services that we have to offer. So we're going to start chatting. We're going to, you know, build that relationship as soon as they walk in the door. You know, that's something I like to do is be ready, have everything prepped. So when guests are walking in the door, I greet them. And, you know, I shake their hand. Hi, I'm Dee, and you are. And that just gets me to remember their name. So if you don't remember names, you know, use the name tag because people do like to be called by their name. So you're just going to make that natural conversation, and then you're going to offer the following things to each customer in their order. You're going to talk to them about learning more about the business, because it's always easier if they say no to that than it's easier to ask them for a booking. Okay. Then you're going to ask them, you know, to do a catalog or a virtual party. And then if they say no to all the above, then you're going to ask them, you know, just give them a recipe card and thank them for coming tonight. So, but we always want to start with the, you know, the business opportunity first, because it's easier to slide down the mountain than try to climb up. If you ask them for a booking and they say no, and then you got to ask for the opportunity, that's a little bit harder. Okay. And then start talking about the recipe. You know, if you give them a recipe card or, you know, the recipe that you were making that night, they always appreciate that. Okay. So here's some words to use to invite at checkout chat. So here's some things. Have you ever thought about having a home-based business? So we're going to go through these and try to think about, you know, which one of these are you comfortable talking and asking? So, you know, putting things in your own words that you're comfortable with. Were you one of the people interested in tonight learning more about the business opportunity? Did I say something about my Pampered Chef business that made you curious to find out more? I don't know if this would be a good fit for you, but it's sure great. It's been great for me. Would you like more information? If I gave you a little information about the business, would you read it? What inspired you the most about the Pampered Chef business opportunity? You were so much fun today and really had great tips. Have you ever thought about being a Pampered Chef consultant? And, you know, yes, I have, or no, I haven't. You know, yeah, I have, you know, no, I haven't, you know, would you like to think more about it? Don't always take, you know, sometimes they're like not sure and we kind of like let it go. Don't just let it go, you know, dig a little bit deeper. You really seem to love helping me with the recipe. Aren't those knives amazing? Did anything I say make you curious about the business? What would you say if I told you that you could make $500 for working 5 days a month and 5 days, any 5 days that you wanted, when it's most convenient for you? The one I like to use too, if they're coming up and they're buying the raw crock, you know, things that I know come in the kit, I'll say, oh my goodness, Susan, did you know that a lot of this that you have on your list comes in the kit? Did you know you're spending X amount of dollars tonight? If you just, you know, if you could get all of this for $159 and all of this in the kit. So that's something I like to say too. So pay attention to what they're ordering so that If there is a lot on their list that's already in the kit, make sure you point them know. If you do just a couple shows and try this out, you could get all of that for $159. Okay. I'm just looking here at my notes. Okay. So it doesn't matter which one of these you choose or how you ask. You can't say the right thing to the wrong person or the wrong thing to the right person. In other words, if they're not interested, phrasing it perfectly isn't going to suddenly make them want to join your team. So if they're interested, they're not going to stop being interested just because you stumble over your words a little bit. So the most important thing is that you just ask. Because if you don't ask, then you are missing. And the more you do it, and if you do it with each person at every single show, the better you're going to get at asking and the more comfortable you're going to get. So once they say yes, would you like to, something you could say to them, would you like to purchase your kit tonight and get started? Or would you like to talk to me about some questions you might have? And then if they do have more questions, if there's nobody in line, I like to do my interview right there. If there's no one coming up, and now with Express Party Checkout, usually the orders are already in and you don't have a line, you can sign them right there that night. There's nothing better than, walking away from a party where you actually signed a recruit at the party. Has anybody ever signed a recruit right there on the spot at a party?
I did today.
Yay! Was that Susan?
Yeah.
Good job. I can't wait with this kit rebate. I can't wait to get out there and do shows now. So, awesome. So don't be afraid to pull out your phone, your iPad or whatever and get them signed up right then and there because they're excited and they don't have to go home and wait. All right. But if they do if they do want to think about it, then, you want to make sure that you set up that call within 24 hours. You want to make sure you get them while the lead is still hot. The longer you wait, then they're going to start talking to their husband who might talk them out of it, or their mother, their aunt, their sister, their friend, and talk them out of it. And I just had that recently happen to me. I had a host in August. She had her party at the end of August, and she was signing. Like I was so sure she was signing. And then when it came to sign, she's like, you know what, I don't think I'm going to do this now. And then, of course, she had a booking from her party, and it was 2 girls co-hosting, and she was back at the party, and I got to talk to her a little bit more. And I'm like, Amanda, I really think you'd be really great at this. And I'm not sure what happened. And then I found out her grandmother talked her out of it. But I wasn't letting her get off that time. So at the party, she actually signed her agreement at the party. So I got her when she came back, and she was a little upset then because guess what? The party that she could have had was a $2,000 party. So she could have had commission and qualified in that one party. So while they may not sign that night, they might come back if they have a booking and sign. So, but because in this case, the girl went home and talked to her grandmother, and her grandmother talked her out of it. So we just talked her right back into it when she came back to the next party. So, so before we wrap it up about all of this, who's the one person that we need to talk to? Who is your best prospect at your show?
The host.
The host. Yay! So don't forget to invite your host, because your host is having the party, right? She already loves the product. She has experienced the fun of the party. So remember to inform your host about the opportunity during your host coaching, before, during, and after the show. Okay. As I said, I went to Stacy Itzel's party, and that was when she walked in, put her stuff down, she went right over to the host and started saying, Now, remember, we need to get 2 bookings at your party tonight. And then she went right into, we've talked about the opportunity. Is this something you're still thinking about? Okay, she went right into asking her host again about, being a consultant and getting her bookings at the party. So, and remember, as you can see here, one of the benefits of your host is getting the kit credit. So she can get $25 to $50 toward her kit to help her get started. Okay. So anybody have any questions for me?
I just want to add that if someone's interested or thinking about it, your host, that you can say, just let me know right before the party, so that if you're thinking about this week, I'm sure more people would book a party if it was for you as a consultant than they would for me. And I'd like to be able to help you get those as the night goes on. So let me know if you think this is something you might want to do, and we'll ask your friends.
That was the thing that I was leading into next. So absolutely, sometimes, if they're sitting there, sometimes if your friend is thinking about, if the host is thinking about it, you can just say, hey, Susie host here is really excited. She's really thinking about this. If Susie started tonight, how many of you would host a party for her? And even if they weren't going to host with you, guess what? Their hands are up ready to help a friend out. So yeah, making sure that the friends know that, she's thinking about it. And sometimes those friends can give her that little push that she needs to get off the fence. So even if your host has said no to the business opportunity during host coaching, ask again when coaching your host after the show. Okay. You just never know what may have changed since your host coaching conversation. And, up until you close her party and submit it, remind her that this kit credit is out there for her. Okay. So I know we're coming up here on 10 o'clock. I want to respect your time, but does anybody have any questions for me before we assign your homework? Did anybody learn anything anything that you want to add to your parties that you learned tonight about informing and inviting?
It's Jen again. I want to try to find a way to virtually offer that, how she had the flower pot or whatever. I want to try to find a way to do that virtually.
So you could do, so when you have the post about the opportunity, you could do a post with little pumpkins on it. And you could even say pick question 1, 2, or 3 or something. And I know we've done something like that with bookings, but you could definitely do it the same way. So you could have a picture with all little pumpkins on it, and maybe even just put, question number 1, question number 2, or something like that.
Yeah, Jen, there's a thing in Canva that you can, as they ask a question, put an X over it, like I've been doing with our sales each month on the team banner. So I'll show you how to do that, and you could ask the question, and as people ask it, you could post the next picture that's it has 6 questions, then 5, then 4, with the X's across your pumpkins or something.
Okay, cool.
You could use the emoji cookie cutters, the Halloween ones.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good idea. Great idea.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So for our homework tonight, we were going to ask you to practice your recruiting messages, activities that you'll do in your hello, in your simple group selling. Observe, somebody, your director, another director in your organization, a strong recruiter, someone that always coming to your team meetings, and they're the top recruiter in your on your team. Maybe go to one of their parties. Get comfortable offering that opportunity to everyone at checkout and during that 24-hour call. As always, we're going to ask you to make 15 contacts a week outside the party and do that power hour of booking and recruiting. We have some amazing opportunities this month that the company has given us with the the extra bonus that they added on, which was 60% off any item in the catalog, as well as the 37 people that will get picked for $370 worth of free product, which is amazing. And then we also have the kit rebate this month, the 50% off kit rebate. So we have a lot. The company has given us these tools to book a full calendar, as well as to bring some people into the business. So we want to make sure that we take this opportunity, that the gift that the company gave us, and use it to our advantage. So recorded call for this week is going to be Make It a Growing Team by Julie Aldridge and Susan Orstead. So we will have those all posted. Your directors will post that for you. So anybody have any questions before we close out? I have to come back and see everybody's pretty faces. Everybody's pretty quiet tonight. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And you have a question, Christy? Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm currently doing a virtual party right now and is thinking about becoming a consultant. If she uses her kit rebate, would she also get the $12.50? Would she also get the half off rebate?
Wait, you broke up there, Christy. So you're asking if she decides to join, and yes. So yeah, okay. I think I made out your question. So if she uses the kit, if she uses her kit rebate, $25 or $50, Pampered Chef will give her 50% of what she paid for the kit, not the full price.
Okay.
So she'll get 50% of what she paid. All right.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, Dee.
Okay, bye.
Bye.